Welcome to Talk Around Riyadh, the Wheel of Time showcast. I am your host, Joe Perry, here with my co-hosts, Jen Isgro, Tom Kakoza, and special returning co-host, Brendan Johnston. Brendan, I'm going to start with you. We're going to be talking about episode 8, so this is the last episode of the season, so we will be saying goodbye to you for the near future. But remember, when season 2 comes back, so does Brendan. So
That's right, my contract has been renewed.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Your contract was renewed for season 2 a while ago.
Yeah.
Before season 1 even aired. How are you feeling, Brendan? Are you feeling a little nervous, a little saddened by this last episode and your departure from the show for a while?
No, I'm good.
All right. Jen, how you doing?
I'm good. We are recording on a Thursday this week, which just so happens to coincide with the WoT Idol, which is happening right now. But it happened last night, first round. I can't use words. And we were voted, our parody video was voted into the finals. So by the time you guys...
But then they knew that already.
Who knew that already?
Everyone
the people
listening,
yes,
because
well,
it's already happened.
If you're listening, you already know who won. So.
Oh, we should record 2 versions of this. Like a version where we won and a version where we lost. We could do remember South Park did the election episode and they shot 2 episodes? Because they didn't know who's going to win the election. We should do that.
Okay.
All right.
Which version do you want to do first?
Oh my God, we won. I don't know. I can't do it.
All right. I just want to say, it was a really, really cool experience doing WoT Idol this year and winning for the first time. Frankly, we all know we should have won 3 times. So I'm glad that the voters got their act together.
4 times, really.
Well, yeah, it should have been a tie the first year. Between us and us.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really cool. I didn't expect it. So thanks everyone for voting for us.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, we didn't win this year though, but it was really fun. We made it to the finals. There was a lot of great songs. I'm glad at least that we lost to that song.
That was a good one.
Enter song here later.
That was a really good one. I mean, it was really emotional. And you know what? It was about Rand's trauma. I'm going to go on a limb. That it was about Rand's trauma.
I think all of the songs we're really going to cancel them out. When I enter, I'm just thinking when I enter the song name here part, I'm just going to put some ridiculous voice over it. Like, nah.
Get one of your kids to do it.
Yes.
Have Alexa say it.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever equivalent thereof you have access to.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This was a terrible idea. Let's get into the episode. But before we do that, we do have some news to talk about. I did want to talk about a little bit of news. Just a couple of posts on Instagram. One from Priyanka Bose. It appears they are all back in Prague, or at least most of the cast is back in Prague. We've got Avienda, Loyal, Egwene, Perrin, and Min all in the shot. And this again was taken by Priyanka, so we know that Alana is also in Prague. And apparently, I think it was Sarah Nakamura who responded, right? Saying that they're all watching Yosha playing soccer with a bunch of kids.
She put it on Twitter and it's in the alt text.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Picture. Yeah.
So I'm just picturing like a 6'3", muscular 20-something-year-old playing soccer with a bunch of like 7-year-olds and just like destroying them.
I was picturing like a really muscular 20-year-old guy with no shirt on, right? And he's really sweaty. That's what it sounded like you were describing.
I didn't say he was sweaty.
And
didn't have a shirt on. Muscular 20-year-old man. I know. That's where you were gonna go. It's really hot in Prague right now.
So then it's a bunch of teenage girls he's playing soccer with. Then in this instance,
they just start taking off their shirts because it's really
no, Jen.
Really hot.
I don't condone that. I
didn't say their bras, just the shirts.
Oh, okay. All right, this went weird.
Can we make them in their 20s?
They're 18. They're all 18.
I wasn't taking anybody's clothes off. Jen made this weird.
She made it weird and then started to make it
She took
really,
Yosha's
really
shirt off.
weird.
She took Yosha's shirt off first, and then she started taking off a bunch of teenage girls' clothes.
I was
Yeah,
being
hi.
you.
We need to get rid of this season 2 contract. You need to get back.
Brendan is
Like
calling
now.
his agent right now.
Yeah.
Like,
All right,
yesterday.
and I'll move on to another photo of Rafe and some of the writers. They are not in Prague. They are in Spain right now. I guess going there for some inspiration, but I'm not sure. It seems a bit late to do that, considering they're going to be starting the film very soon.
I've never
likely-
been to Spain, but I kind of like the music. So there was another post this week from one of the writers saying like that they were still working on season 3, and
How do you
listening
start?
to Tegan and Sarah?
How do you start filming a show that you're not even done writing?
I didn't start filming it yet.
They're gonna be though. We saw casting calls for like April 15th or something like that, right? Wasn't those extra casting calls?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a couple of things. There's a couple of ways that could happen. One, they could be doing a Breaking Bad.
I'm sorry. Did you
part
say
one,
for
part
season
2.
3? They were going there for season 3 writing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, that's what they're going to film.
Okay.
You were right the first time.
Okay.
Like they could be doing it in like, hey, we're gonna film, we're gonna film part 1 of season 3, and then film part 2 season
but what
3
if
at a
they
later
need to
time.
change something? Go back and change something.
They can because
one
you
of
do
the
that.
actors leaves halfway through. That'll never happen.
No, what I'm saying is that seems like a poor way to plan your filming, because
So I think
if you have to change some of the story or the writing because for whatever reason, then you're going to have to go back. You might have to go back then and reshoot scenes and rewrite stuff from the stuff you already filmed.
I agree.
Also, Jen, you're being ridiculous. It was 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, it was.
it's true. It's a good point. So I don't think that that's what they're doing, right? I'm saying that is a possibility. There's other shows that have done that have had like part 1 and part 2 of a season that had an extended break in between them. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's more likely there's 2 different things. Rafe and some of the writers are on vacation before the show actually begins, right? The production of the show, season 3, actually begins. And Justin Jules Gilmer is doing like, hey, final edits or polishes on one of the later scripts, because that kind of stuff does continue to happen over the course of production. Especially if like, hey, we found in acting this scene live on set, we found something that wasn't necessarily in script but is really good, and let's make a tweak to a scene later on, right? Pages continue to be created during production. That's not always a bad thing. So I don't think that they're writing like trying to figure out how the season ends. I think it's more likely that they're still doing final polishes on some of the scripts.
Okay. So like then, yeah, I get what you're saying. So there's like maybe
Right. She was not on vacation with them, right?
Yeah. The scene or 2 they still
I
have
mean, that
to
happens on
write up.
That happens on movies. I don't want to say all the time, but it happens on movies a lot. Quantum of Solace, the second Daniel Craig James Bond movie, was apparently just like written as they were shooting it.
I've heard
in
stories about that. I feel like on,
No.
I don't remember which.
The worst one of his James Bond.
No,
It's still good though.
No, I feel like on the
oil thing is
that Netflix show, The Movies That Made Us. I'm trying to remember. I think one of the movies that they covered were doing that. They were like rewriting the script as the movie was filming.
Yeah, you do find that happening, especially sometimes with like blockbusters, that like they get everybody together and then like they're starting like this script is not particularly good.
Mhm.
Let's change that,
All right. Well, let's move on then.
Okay.
Welcome to another edition of Where's What Origins. Jen, any
Yes.
news? Have you heard anything?
No. Nothing.
Tom? Got anything?
No. So I was looking today, and I actually this is the where I whatever. I was looking today, and I was actually trying to look inside of other WoT Origins episodes to see if there were secret, hidden WoT Origins episodes inside of them.
Oh, maybe
It
like
didn't work.
like they were just like frames of the episodes in sprinkled out, and then you had to pull out all the frames and put them together to get the episode.
Oh, I wasn't doing that far, but
Oh.
I was kind of like maybe there's a man behind the curtain kind of a thing or whatever, but it didn't work. And I do think it is funny because I haven't really checked in myself in a while that we're closer to August 2023 than we were to August 2022 when they were supposed to come out.
Yeah, we passed
So,
that threshold a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah, a
Um,
couple of months ago.
yeah, it's funny. I was actually listening to the Lights Work podcast yesterday, and they were doing an episode
podcast.
about go check them out. The friend of the show, Grace, was on our podcast. She's one of the hosts along with Anas. Anyway, they were talking about Wheel of Time, like colloquialisms and like things like vernacular for the fandom, and one of them now is August. Like it's a joke when you say like, when do you think this is going to happen? Like August is inevitably in the poll, just as a joke and a callback to the WoT Origins episode. So if we've gotten anything from this, it's that we got a new inside joke.
Ooh.
Brendan,
Yeah.
anything? Have you heard anything? Have you spotted anything?
No. Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
Okay. Well, guess that's it. All right, let's get into our episode. Episode 8, to be exact. The Eye of the World. This one was directed by Kieran Donnelly and written by our esteemed showrunner, Rafe Judkins. Poor Rafe. The cold open for this episode. Brendan, I know you love this. I know you love this
is
scene.
my turn. It's my turn this week. We can just talk about the cold open for the whole episode. Joe asked last week, and we said no, so I don't expect to get a yes. But it's so good, to borrow a phrase.
TM.
It's trademarked. You owe her $5. Brendan, refresh everybody's memory as to why you love this scene so much.
I mean, what really puts it over the top for me is when they push the window at the end and they're in like the Jetson City. So like there's literally like a flying car who's makes a little like sound effect, and I did not see that coming at all when I first watched it. I mean, I enjoy the whole scene, but that really, like I said, that really puts it over the top.
Yeah, it is a really cool scene. There are a couple of things in it that I know people have issues with. Right, and these are changes from the book, Brendan, that the woman Latra in this show is the Tamerlane, but really Lews Therin was the Tamerlane. I don't mind that they changed that. I know why they changed that. The part that bothers me though about this episode, I really do like the episode. I love that it's all done in a made up, the old tongue, right? It's a made up language. They created a language and did this scene in it, and I think the actors did a great job with it. The one thing that bothers me is, and it's something that I think we see continuously throughout the season, and I think it's a problem that they're going to need to fix. And I know what the problem is, right? There's a lot of information from the books that they're trying to convey, and there's things that they can't cut out. And so characters just say them matter-of-factly as if they know they're true and don't give any context to that. And this one, like Latra Pozai, says, if you go attack the Dark One, he's going to taint the one power. Like, she doesn't know that for sure. This is like Moraine knowing that anyone who's not the dragon who goes to the outer world is going to die. It's another one of those things where like they just say it, so it must be true. Do we know why? Is there any background, any information to it? Like, how do you know that? I think those are important things to because they drive the story so much that there should be some more context and background to them. So that's the one issue I have with this scene. That's it.
I wrote that down too. It's a very specific consequence of that action that like no one really, she could say it won't be good.
Yeah.
Something bad might happen, but like the specific tainting of Sidene is like, yeah, how would she ever know that could happen?
Yeah, and it makes Luz Theron look even worse because it's like,
It-
you know exactly what's going to happen if you go there and you're going to do it anyway, instead of like
Right.
the more of the like, you know, that's a foolish plan, it's too dangerous kind of thing. You're going to get yourself killed or all, you know, all of us killed. You can't do that, or it's too, you know, whatever, risky.
Right.
We get like, no, this specific thing is going to happen.
Well, so I think you're right, and I think that. So there were interviews done afterwards where like things like that were asked specifically about this scene,
Mhm.
and Rafe doubled down. He said every word, every line was specifically and intentionally chosen. Right. So this was definitely an intentional change.
Oh yeah.
I think that, you know, we also talked about this when we did it the first time, right? Like in the books, it's a terrible war that they are losing.
Mhm.
And both Latra and Luz have conflicting, like, desperate plans that the other one thinks is a guaranteed loser. And that's like the cause of the split, right? And then, like, basically Latra's plan can't happen anymore. So now Luz is like, all right, I have my bad plan. They don't know the consequences, but they just have to do something. And this, we talked about it. Clearly, that's not the case here. Things are pretty good, but Luz Theron is like, but what if they're better, right?
I don't know,
like,
if they're pretty good.
I think as we go into the series going forward, there's definitely going to be a war that's happening, right?
Yeah.
There are Forsaken, right? They're from this time frame. They exist, but like, that's not a city that's in any danger.
No,
right?
Well, the city itself is, I mean,
they're not like, they're not panicked, desperate people in this conversation. They're having a civilized disagreement. My part back, it still exists now, is that no one is really emotionally intense enough for what the conversation is that they're having. But I do think that he's saying, I have this great plan. She's saying, if it doesn't work, it's really risky. And he's saying, yeah, I know that. That's why I'm asking for your help, because if you help me, it can't lose. And she's saying no. And so, like, it's a different conversation. It's a different, like, it's a different thing. And I think that's intentional. But I think all of it, I think Luz Theron is not a desperate man who takes an action here. He's somebody who's extremely overconfident. Right?
Yeah, they did a good job at conveying that, I think.
Which is one of the things I liked about it after the fact, and after talking about it with you guys, and you guys talking about how in the books there's this big war and they're desperate and they're like, it's this last ditch thing, and in the show it is just, and I mean this in a positive way. In the show, he is just pure hubris. It's just, we can do it. Let's do it. Everything's fine. But like Tom said, like, everything's fine. Let's make everything great. And we see what happens.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what they're gonna, like, if they're gonna go into more. I think they're gonna do more flashbacks like this, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I definitely think they will. I think that I did notice this, because I didn't necessarily remember it. I don't remember the exact line. I didn't write it down, but there is reference to the fact that Dark One is touching the world.
Yeah.
Now, like, in that time frame. And like, that's what he's trying to prevent. He's like, what if we stop that from happening forever? Right? Which, again, is not only hubris, but is also like, what if we take away free will from people?
Right.
Yeah.
And just give them the option for be only good, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
and that ties into something that we talked about. I wanted to bring this up last week, but I forgot I wanted to when we ended the episode. So we were talking last week about how Rand makes decisions for how, like, he is somebody who doesn't want to give people agency to make their own decisions. If he feels like they shouldn't do something, like, because it can hurt them, he won't want that to happen, right? And that's not necessarily a good character trait, right? And not in a bad way, like in a noble, self-sacrificing way, right? But like we were talking about this in regards to the Egwene conversation, like he didn't give Egwene the opportunity to say, yes, let's have sex together because we both know the exact same situation. He didn't want her to feel pain, so he wasn't going to tell her about it. And like, it's a wildly different example, but in the same way, I think Lews Therin is also someone, they are the same soul after all, that's like, I don't think that other people have to have agency to make their own decisions if my decision is right.
Mm-hmm.
And well-intentioned.
What?
And well-intentioned.
Right.
Like, I mean well, so it doesn't matter what they think.
Exactly. Right.
All right. We move on into the episode. Right, it starts off with Rand and Moraine, kind of where we picked up from the last episode, traveling in the Blight. We see a glimpse of the 7 towers of Malkir, which was mentioned in the previous episode. Land's home. Moraine talks about how the Blight's growing, and it's been about 40 years and how far it moved.
There's a
comment about the towers.
Yeah.
I also have a comment about the towers.
The towers they look like stone now. Right? Like, well, I guess they could have been stone from the beginning. I feel like, so there, when you see the outside shot of the city, people found that if you went to the first episode, it was the same outline,
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
You could see
yeah.
The city would look.
The shot out the window, you actually see what that city looks like now, 2,000 years later.
Yeah, but it's like, it was almost like the buildings got changed into like Earth. It was weird. It was like a different, and the same thing with the tower. I can't picture like exactly what was different about them, but it looks like.
No, it seems like they got petrified.
Yeah, like.
Well, they were all
I
black,
guess.
and I couldn't tell if I was trying to figure out if they were somewhat destroyed, and that's why they looked all craggly, and it was only like parts of the tower, or if they were just weird shaped towers to begin with, and they're just like Brendan said, petrified looking.
Yeah, I think it's the first part. I think that's what Moraine basically says, is like he looks at that and thinks like these towers have been abandoned for hundreds of years or
40
whatever.
years.
Yeah.
And she says, no, it's been 40 years at most. That's what the Blight does.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, Jen, it's not exactly the same thing, because I think what happens to those towers is that basically Earth and plant life grows over them to make them look like, rockish.
Mm.
This is just like, yeah, it's been 40 years, but the Blight corrupts and destroys things so much that it's like they've been abandoned for hundreds of years and weather beaten and everything else. I thought it was an interesting decision to do that, because I don't know wherever it was, but I want to just say, while we're talking about it, I don't know how much I liked the Blight the first time, because, but I actually, watching it now, like, pardon me, I think that they did I think they did a good job going, this is a clearly different environment than any place else that you've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the fact that it's the first time people are hot. I don't know, they're sweaty, they can't breathe, they can't catch their breath, everything's like claustrophobic, even though they're in the open, and I actually, I don't know, I found myself, I think, liking the set piece more this time than I did the first time.
Yeah.
I think the first time I was focused on what I pictured the Blight to be,
and
was looking at what it wasn't compared to that.
Yeah.
And this time I was looking at it more along the lines of like, okay, how does this fit into the world of the show?
Yeah, I think they were thinking like, how do we make this place visually inhospitably unpleasant looking? I don't know. And right, we're gonna go to other landscapes, that desert type landscapes and rocky landscapes and all that. And I guess they wanted to be able to differentiate it and make it clear that this is, as you said, Tom, a different kind of place. And I don't think that the whole Blight's gonna look like that. I think they'll probably go to parts where maybe it looks a little different. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, there was the whole, in the books they did go to that foresty area with those creepy trees.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay with that. We go back to Lan and Nynaeve, and this is where we get into number 2. thing that bothers me, probably more so than number one.
Uh-huh.
Moraine's tell, right?
Oh,
So I'm going to ask the question, and then we're going to talk about this. Are we to believe that Lan, who spent 20 years by Moraine's side, following her around and protecting her, does not know that she has a tracking tell?
I have the almost word for word exact same sentiment written in my notebook.
What if he did know,
Ridiculous.
but he let Nynaeve have it?
Why? That should not be in the show.
What?
Why is
Like
that
she
in the
said,
show?
I know he's a tell, and he was like, "Oh, you do? Okay,
If
great.
Lan,
Why was
then,
he?
everything-
then what is it? Tell me, and I'll go track
everything
her.
we know
patronizing
about
her.
Lan
Thank you.
to this point, if Lan knew beforehand, if Lan knew before Nynaeve told
I
him,
know you're
He
right.
would have been out there already.
he would have been gone already.
Yeah.
Nynaeve would not have had the opportunity to tell him. He's not just like waiting around to give his new girlfriend like a win
Yeah, I
while
don't.
his best
but he doesn't
friend
know
and
which way
boss
to
is going
get
off to
her.
die.
So I think there was actually a conversation that we had at the last JordanCon, I think,
Yes.
or it might have been WoTCon last year. Like, what kind of tell could Moraine have that is trackable on horseback or foot?
What was it?
And we came to the
It was her
conclusion that she,
asparagus.
Asparagus
line.
pea.
yeah, her asparagus.
That's right. Asparagus pea.
pea.
Especially considering that for a good part of when Nynaeve was tracking them in the beginning, Moraine wasn't doing anything because
She
Moraine was like
unconscious on a
half
horse.
dead on her horse, being carried by
What?
Lan.
What could
That's a good
tell,
point, Brendan.
like,
I didn't even think about that. That's a great
It's
point.
So stupid.
can you
It
give-
is very
Give
stupid.
me an example
I'm
of a
sorry.
tell.
I'm
Well, that's
not.
another thing. That's a thing in poker. Like,
Yeah, I'm not a
that's just-
fantasy tracker. I don't know. Like,
Like,
Aragorn was able to tell that the hobbits rolled around on the grass here and then moved over that way.
yeah, but
Like,
didn't
I
he
can't do
find?
that.
Oh no, I don't know how
He
he.
did find a leaf, but he was able to plot the entire course of like the scene that happened prior in the movie.
Yes,
Like,
that was
so,
absurd.
I mean, it
It
would
was
be
kind of,
something
it was
like,
awesomely absurd.
yeah, it would be something like, I imagine, hey, you know what? They consistently bend a branch down, or literally like, hey, they put out fires the same way all the time. They actually do cover up the way they go to the bathroom in the same way, in the same manner. So I'm looking for things like that
Asparagus
on the
pea.
path they're going, right? But again, like these are not traits that anybody actually has, at least not nowadays, right? So I don't know.
We would have to ask.
It doesn't
an
make any
experienced
sense anyway.
tracker. Yeah, it doesn't. It's a bad. It's bad. I'm sorry. I don't care what
So
any
I did
explanation
appreciate
someone
the fact
comes up.
that
There's no explanation that could be said for this that like would make sense or make it like, no, this isn't bad. Oh, okay,
This
that
has-
makes sense. I get
This
it.
has to be an added part
It-
of the scene because Lan does nothing.
well, it
And-
is right. I think we talked about we don't know this for certain, but I think we had heard right that the original intention for what Lan did in this episode was different.
Was it for Lan?
I don't
the fact that
remember
he was
what it
going to have more
was.
combat, like in this episode, and they couldn't do any of the combat because they didn't have any real Trollocs.
Yeah, I think you
Right.
said, Brendan. I think it was you made this comment the first time we watched this. Like you took your super warrior guy and he didn't do anything when the big battle came. He
yeah,
just did
the
nothing.
guy whose whole thing is being the best at fighting doesn't do any fighting in big fighting episode.
Yeah,
Mhm.
There's two of the worst scenes in the show are in this episode, and one of them is Lan just looking at the Seven Towers and then continuing on his way. It's
Oh,
just
yeah?
like if you don't put that in, it's just like it's just so we remember like Daniel Henney is still in the show. He's walking
Oh,
in the
yeah,
light.
yeah.
He turns.
Yes.
He like looks forlorn and then he continues walking. It's like a 15-second scene, but it's literally just put in there so like we didn't forget he exists.
yeah, I agree
And
with
there's
you.
another
there's
bad
also-
one, another horrible one that I'll bring up later.
That's not even the scene with Lan that I thought you were gonna like. The scene where Nynaeve comes to him and tells him how to find Moraine. Like he's just standing there.
No, but
Like he's
this
just standing and looking out at the scenery like his best friend who's trying to save the world didn't just disappear.
it's bad, but that's like what he says to her is like a very famous lines from the book. So that's why I don't hate
Oh,
Well,
it.
whatever.
that's after, like they leave and then come back to the two of them, and I think that's when that conversation happens.
Right, and with the tell, it's all the same conversation.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it the
that's
same
it.
conversation?
Yeah.
Okay.
It ends with him going, "Now tell me what it
Tell
is."
me what it is.
And
Okay.
she
then he
does.
leaves.
I think I was typing my note during that part, so I might have missed it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love that. It was funny as this scene was beginning. I was like, oh yeah, like nobody likes this scene, and I was like, all right, let me try and like blank slate myself and like I can forget like what my opinions were last time, and like I will say this for the writing not really making like that for the tell thing not making sense. I was like, the performances are good in this scene. I do
yeah,
think they
they are.
deliver that like I'll love the man because I make him
Yeah.
smile, whatever, that sort of thing. That piece is good. To the point where I'm like, oh, why did they say tell me that like I don't want to know anything about the tracking.
Stop the tracking.
I mean,
Why can't Lan just
in
figure it out
general on
himself?
this show,
Why can't he just figure it out himself?
in general on this show, the performances and the actors do a lot of heavy lifting because there's a like, I think it was like episode 6. I said like it's really good that Rosamund Pike and Sophie Okonedo are so good at their jobs because otherwise this shit would have been unwatchable. Like it's bad, but they're so good at it. And like this scene's another example. Like this scene is dumb as hell, but like the chemistry between Daniel Henney and Zoe Robbins is so good that it's not like it doesn't make me want to turn it off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They just need to cut. Just need to cut the whole part about the tell out. Just he can do it on his own. He could
Yeah, if
find
we
her on
just
his
saw
own.
him going, we would never have thought.
You know
like,
what?
How's he
If
tracking her? 'Cause
He
he's
could,
there.
the conversation could have been, "I'm going after Moraine,
Right.
and I'm leaving
Yes.
you."
Yeah.
And then they could have had that whole romantic scene. That didn't
Right.
have to be a tracking tell. It was.
Well, do people
You know what?
think
If
that
she
we would
had
get hung up
said-
on how she found them? Because I would.
Yeah, I do think it was.
Oh, I'm sure there were
at least they
people who got
had
hung up on that.
that conversation, and that conversation is, I think, whatever. She tracks them in the books because she's a good tracker,
Yeah.
and he's
that's
just
it.
impressed with her tracking skills.
Her dad
right?
taught her how to track when she was young.
Yeah. But if she had said, I'll tell you this again, here I'm gonna take a page out of Jen and giving them good advice 3 years later. If she had said, I didn't follow you, I followed Rand. He has to tell. I know how he travels through the woods because I've known him since he's a child,
Oh yeah.
and that's how I followed you. So you can't follow her, but you can follow him. I feel like that is a scene that makes more sense.
Yeah. If you could have said anything, and it's better
Well, like,
than
Like it still
she
works
has
for
to
what they
tell.
want to
She
do.
doesn't tell that you never noticed.
This person that you've
It's
traveled with for 20
especially-
years, part of your job in doing that, established on the show, is doubling back behind her and
Here's
making sure no one's following you.
here's the excuse that I can only think of that was kind of produced or is a way to rationalize this in her head. He's bonded to her for 20 years, so he doesn't need to track her ever. He can just feel where she is. So he's kind of lost. So he doesn't, I don't know. He doesn't know her tell, I guess, because of that. Like he became lazy because he's bonded to her. So he can just feel where she is. He knows where she is at all times. He doesn't need to be able to track her. But I don't know. I still don't like it.
I was gonna do sort of a recurring bit I do and say welcome to Tel Riyadh, everybody, but then I remembered that's the real name of the place, so it wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed.
It's
Sorry.
It's 2 L's though, so it's different.
Tel
Yeah.
different.
Oh, that should have been our podcast name. Teleran Riyadh with 2 L's. All right, let's go back and change it.
All right, next time.
I'll go back and edit all the episodes and delete all the
course.
social media, repost every social media post,
Redo the logo.
redo the logo, all that stuff.
Okay.
All right, so we're back with Rand and Moraine and the Blight. There's a dream. Here comes another. I feel like almost every scene in this episode or every other scene in this episode is something that really bothers me in it. Right, Rand's in a dream, or we don't realize it at first that it's a dream. The Dark One calls him Lews Therin. Oh, Lews Therin, that's the guy we met in the prologue. I say the prologue, the guy we met in the cold open.
Well, I didn't meet him in the prologue.
He also makes a comment that the Dark One here makes a comment that he knows Rand's real dad, or at least who he is, because he said he's been dead for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Rand stabs himself to escape, which is
big gamble, Rand.
Which is a big no-no, and this goes 100% against book lore, and it's going to drive me nuts.
It's show lore now.
Yeah, you've got to just take that and put it where it is.
This creates a lot of stakes in a lot of situations in the books. Now you've just taken it out, unless they're going to make some stupid excuse for like this was a dream.
This was a dream.
This was a different type
regular
of
dream.
It wasn't that kind of dream, and they weren't there.
Yeah, here you go. Because whatever, like in a what do you call them? When you pull them in,
a dream
shard. He makes a dream shard. Death rules don't work. In regular Tel'aran'rhiod, death rules work. There you go.
They're gonna have to address it in next season or the season after, because if this is the way it's gonna be, then I'm gonna be very upset every time this comes up in the show.
I like how the Dark One knows exactly what Moiraine will say upon waking, though. That was funny.
Oh yeah, he knows a lot of things. He knew the secret. He knew the
same lines.
What Egwene scratched into a tree. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he's literally in Rand's mind. You guys are really hung up on the logistics of how the magic demon who goes into everybody's dreams knows stuff about them.
That
baffles me.
That doesn't. I mean, that I made a note about that, but it doesn't bother me as much as this other thing with Rand stabbing himself. So.
I will say this, right? In the first book, especially, there is a lot of Balsamon just knows things.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, that's reflected here. He's just evil, and he is in their brains and can pick knowledge as necessary.
But the knowledge of Rand, I'm not going to say obviously who it is. Spoiler alert! But Rand's real father is not in Rand's head.
No, so but whatever. That is a spoiler, but we could. There's reasons for that too, but and there's reasons for this. He's Darth Vader. There's reasons for this that whatever we can talk about sometime when Brendan's not here.
All right, here
that are book lore appropriate.
I've got another. Right, Moiraine gives him the little sa'angreal, right? She says, like, whatever many men created this, it's you can use it to channel the one power. I forget how many. She says a lot of men created it.
Hundreds of men put their all of their power into it.
Yes, thank you, Tom. All right, so I have a question here, and I don't know which way we're going, and I don't know which direction we're going, and the show's taking, right? In the books, these types of items, sa'angreal, they're specifically made for the male half or the female half separately, right? They can't channel. Right. They're not made for both. And it can't be. It just doesn't work. We've never seen one. We don't hear about if there ever were any. So it's just assumed that there's two separate items and one can't use the other or it's useless. So does this mean Moiraine knew all the time that it was a man, the Dragon Reborn? Because she's like, she brings this or does she have another one? But she doesn't have another one because this is something we see in the very first scene of the show, right? You see a close up on it too, I think, right? She's holding it when she's locking and loading for her journey.
Yeah, okay. So I've thought about this a bunch of times.
Are they going to change it in the books where both men and women can use sa'angreal?
No, it's clearly said that this is for men, basically, by saying only men work to create this and put their power into it for you. If it were a woman, Moiraine can teach that woman how to channel and use her power.
So she just brought it because she wouldn't be able to help the man.
You got to figure this thing out, man, because I don't know what to do. I can't teach you.
Why wouldn't she take a female sa'angreal, though, with her?
And there's another reason for that, too. Female sa'angreal are occasionally used or maybe noticed if they're missing from the tower, right?
it's not
especially with, I mean, hey, sometimes people go off to war and they may need things, although they didn't have any angry with them here, but like it'd be less likely to notice that some, like, no one's gonna, if we had a male sangreal that intensified male channeler's abilities, anyone would be insane to want a male channeler to have that. So no one's gonna notice if one's missing.
or even know what it is.
Possible.
Yeah.
I think there's reasons that like make as much sense as any other reasons in this series.
Right, and he says like you thought it was Egwene all the time, and she doesn't answer him. Is that because she did, or is that just like, well, we're not going to answer you because we don't want you to know?
I don't know. I think her
No.
facial reactions seemed to have like I read it as like, he got me. Kind
Yeah,
of
I mean,
facial.
he even says, so did I, which is effectively like, for purposes of the show, for purposes of the dialogue, it's effectively confirming that, yeah, she thought that too.
All right, then none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense to me.
I'm sorry, what about it does what about it doesn't make sense?
Why did she break? If she thought it was Egwene, even before that, like if she knew it could be a man or a woman, she should have brought two different.
Maybe she did bring two.
I would be more. But they don't. Come on, the beginning
Just because they don't show it. It's not like she says, I only brought one.
But why?
Moraine is not the kind of person to say, here's my other secret thing that I have.
But why leave it so confusing then?
It's not confusing.
Be like, hi, I brought this other one too. I'm just showing you, but we don't need it because you're a man.
She could. Why didn't they just show her with two in the beginning then? So you knew that she had one of each.
We don't ever have to see that, so it doesn't matter.
Or are they trying to tip you off? Are they trying to clue you in? I don't know. I think that doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, I hear you. I don't have a problem with it at all. And I think that I think that this show, the way this show is established right now, I don't think it would be a cheat if she said in season 2, I was carrying this whole time, because until she had to tell somebody, she wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah,
right?
If she does come out and say that she has another one, then yeah, I'm fine with that.
Her ripping down a building in the first episode and killing like an army of Trollocs with just 2 people. Maybe she did have one. She was using it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine with that. And if she better have been using it if she had one. I wouldn't understand why she wouldn't be using it.
So maybe like that's it. And that's why she was so exhausted. That's the
also from the perspective of the brand, brand new audience, I don't. Who cares?
Right.
I know.
It's just it's just a dude. Yeah, like she gave him a magic MacGuffin to make his magic better.
Yeah,
right.
It never even once occurred to me until I was like, hey, why didn't she have one for somebody else?
Well, they went to such large efforts to make it be like any of them could have been the Dragon Reborn. So I don't know. It just seems inconsistent. Yeah, and I think if you're right, I think if you're not a book reader, to be honest, if I think you're not a book reader, this episode's much better than if you are a book reader.
I don't know if that's true.
I think so.
I just want to double back a little bit because we talked about how you were annoyed by the dream mechanics in the dream sequence, but I want to just talk about the actual like quality of that scene. I think it's a really good scene in this episode. It's one of the better scenes in the episode. I think the first appearance of the Dark One's face and his first interactions with Rand and like his super cash attitude, like those are like such bold, somewhat surprising, not necessarily surprising, but like somewhat surprising choices for someone who's just been portrayed as this like evil outside of time monster to just be like, just sit down, can we just talk? And all of a sudden he's like much more of almost a like, you could sense that he's going to try and trick Rand into being bad from that first conversation.
Yeah.
Like he's like, let's have a conversation. Let's speak as two, and like just the jibes and like the dismissiveness and like I just thought that was a really effective scene. Dream mechanics questions aside, I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was good. I liked the dialogue in that scene a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I like that's the first time that Rand, I think, is showing his steel and like his stubborn streak and all of that in a non-douchey way in a while.
mhm.
Right? Like that's the Rand that like when Moraine and Lan come in, pulls his sword to protect Matt, right? And just like, I don't care that I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose on my feet. And I think that's a cool vibe, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sorry, but and also I had a lot of notes in the scene. We broke past it. Anyway, and also this shows influence of Moraine on him. Because Moraine has been saying pretty much from jump, like, I'm not gonna let the Dark One have you. I'll kill you first myself. And he says, well, you know what? She's right. Like, I'd rather die, than let you win. Oh, sure. All right, that's all I had.
Okay.
What's going on? What happened?
Waiting to see if he's still.
I was just waiting to see if he was going to start talking again. Oh God, where were we? Oh yeah. So we get some more of them, Rand and Moraine together. Oh, we get Min. We get a scene with Min and Egwene and Nynaeve and Loial and Perrin.
Wait, did you pass when they saw the army?
Did they saw the army? They heard it. I know Egwene and Nynaeve heard it.
Moraine and Rand
I
see.
feel like we're jumping around a lot.
Yeah.
What did I miss? They saw an army.
Is that the part that you just skipped over when you said we see them again, and then you didn't say what happened?
No, that
anyway.
Go ahead.
Get up to that. Okay, so I just like don't understand the like layout of this. How they're like in the blight, but then the army can go past them,
Well,
but they don't have to walk through the crazy trees to get to. I don't know.
I don't know. That was the least of my problems with this episode, I think.
I just don't understand why Rand and Moraine have to go through this thicket of.
Well, they're going to the eye of the world. That doesn't mean that's where the Trollocs are coming from.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. It just seemed weird that everybody else was like walking in the sunshine and they have to go through this like ridiculous.
Trollocs love the
maze.
sunny path.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, whatever, geography wise, from where Faldara is, they're going to the northeast, and the Trollocs are coming from the north.
Okay.
Okay.
That helps.
I thought they were going northwest, but it doesn't matter.
No, right. Malkir's east, northeast, I think. Right, Jen, you have the map.
Is Malkir on it?
I don't see Malkir.
I was gonna cut to Min scene, but does anyone have anything before Min scene? The Min scene?
No. Last time I said that I didn't think it was clear whether or not she was actually from Shinar, because they make a big point about like all Shinarans have to stay. But now I remembered that she said she was a kid in Tarvalon, so I guess we're supposed to understand from that she's not from Shinar, and it's okay that she's leaving.
Oh yeah, you jumped way ahead.
We just have to see her leaving.
You jumped way ahead.
You're the one who said the Min scene. I didn't jump.
Yeah, they go to see Min in the tavern.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot. Okay, all right. Anyway.
Yeah, she mentions because they go to her asking to find out where Rand is or if he's going to come back, and she says that's not how it works. She explains that like she doesn't control her visions. All she knows is that every vision she's ever seen has come true. And then she sees Nynaeve her face start burning and other people in the tavern dying. And then you hear like the horn or something sound, an alarm sound. And that's when we cut to Agomar and Amalisa. We get the whole scene with him and telling his sister that she's right, and she mentions that he should wear his father's armor, and he says, "I need my armor now." I don't know what that means.
Not as good, clearly.
Well, she says he's lived. His father and grandfather have all lived long lives with that armor, or whatever. And he's like, "I need my armor."
I mean, I think it just means it's just a dramatic way of saying he has to like stand on his own, be his own dude.
Be your own you. I got it.
And also, I think there's a little bit of like, he's telling her, I'm not wearing armor to survive this battle.
Right.
We're all gonna die. The only thing that we're planning to do here is hold them off. Like,
Well,
you're thinking,
the
oh,
better
I should
armor
wear
you
this
wear,
armor so I can come back.
the longer
Like,
you can hold them off. The more Trollocs you can kill.
I think there's a
To die in his own armor.
yeah. I think it's not only that, like he's telling her she's
like
thinking
that.
about this the wrong way, because that's the whole back half of the scene.
Yeah.
Is she was right, and now let me tell you what is coming next.
Yeah.
Right? Because like our job is not to win. We can't win. Our job is just to delay long enough that hopefully the rest of the world can like get it together. And so like he's saying like the time for winning battles here is over. That's how I took it. I do think there's a little bit of what Brendan and Jen were saying too about like I'm my own man, right? Which seems to be a very strong attitude that he's had, in the 2 episodes that we see them in. But I think there's also an attitude of like, this is not the same battle that our ancestors have fought.
I like Jen's thought that he knew, like he knows he's going to die and he wants to die in his own armor.
Yeah.
Also, Emelisa quotes Aragorn in this scene.
What does she say?
She's like, "I will not let the city fall."
She's right, though, at least. I guess they both were right.
Well, what is she right about?
She didn't let the city fall.
Yeah, but at a large cost.
Look, she didn't say,
well, not
I will
that
not
large.
let this city fall.
I guess it was 3 people.
It's only like 4 people.
She doesn't say, I will not let this city fall, and also I will be fine.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. He tells Uno and Yokota to go, you know what to do kind of line. Well, I think that's the exact line. And they look like stunned and walk away. We later find out that they're going to do some digging up. And I've got problems with that too, with some of the dialogue. But you know what? The armor, she winds up wearing the armor, by the way, right? We see her later wearing, or at least the chest piece of the armor. I don't think she's fully in the armor, but it doesn't help her either. So, all right, we're back to the eye. I want to go back to the eye. Moraine mentions one of the cool lines I don't remember that I picked up this time was she says like Rand asked about the eye and she's like all the records of its existence have been purged by dark friends, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. And I wonder if that's gonna come up again sometime in the story. But Rand's starting to have these past life visions. You see Lews Therin appear and you're starting to get like, okay, there's the connection with the two of them and he's kind of can remember some things that Lews Therin happened. So you're getting that. I liked all of this. I like the way they did this. And then we get another dream, and it's the whole him and with Egwene and the child's thing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this. I like this, right? We're getting into some of the consistent stuff that I like. I like these scenes with him and Egwene and the Dark One appearing, and he's trying to like puff Rand up and try to. He says he can teach him how to channel. I like all of that. I like the way it plays out. I didn't like the one thing though, what we talked about before about how he knew the exact thing that was scratched into the tree. That's not a huge problem for me, but what do you guys think about this scene? I think this might be my favorite scene of the episode. This whole sequence.
So I talked about this a lot when we first did it, but I think I talked about it more for the parts when Brendan wasn't on. But I love the way they execute this confrontation. That it's not a sword fight because Rand doesn't know how to use a sword. Not that he doesn't channel either, but whatever. But even that, like, I love that this is a battle for who Rand is and what Rand wants, and like, fundamentally, and all the flaws that Rand has shown in this first season, he overcomes those flaws to succeed here. Right? We talked about it in the beginning. I talked about it a couple of times, right? We've seen over these last few episodes how his instinct is to not give people agency if he thinks he's right and this is better for them, right? And he tries to do it again with Moraine just walking in. You said that anyone who's not me will die. Don't come in. And she just like And so for him to say any world that is right for me and wrong for her, like that's not the woman that I love. That's not the woman that's not Egwene. That wouldn't be Egwene, right? That's his growth, and that's him not doing what Lews Therin did. Right? So I enjoy that. I think it was executed well.
Yeah. I was going to say something different about like his flaws. I was thinking more of like, this has been something that we've seen of Rand throughout the season, is like his stubbornness and his, you can kind of sense that he's very loyal, and his friends and, you know, the people that he loves are very, very important to him, and he would never go against them. And I think this is just like a continuation of that. He's also very stubborn, and
I think
it also
sorry, yeah, Brendan.
it's also established very early on, like in the first episode, that all Rand wants to do is stay in the Two Rivers and be married to Egwene and live on a farm and have this simple, quiet life in the town he grew up in with the girl he loves. And here's the Dark One, or whoever this guy is, saying, "Here you go. You can have it. It's yours." And he has to, and he understands that it would be wrong to take it that way. And that's not what his life is going to be, you know, and for a variety of reasons. And he has to move on from that. And it's a very explicit sign of Rand having grown up a lot in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard to, right? The episode starts jumping around a lot, so I don't know if you just want to continue to talk about this, because you know.
Yeah,
I
I also like this so much better than everything else that happens. So
yeah,
it's also the exact plot of a great Superman story called "For the Man Who Has Everything," which I'm sure I mentioned last time. But
there you go. I like the way, right? This is Rand outsmarting the Dark One.
Yes, that was my next
I love
note.
it. I don't know if I really.
I didn't.
I don't. Yeah, I didn't. I don't know if I really noticed it the first time going around, but the whole thing is, right, he says he can teach him, and then Rand's like, it's like the wheels start churning in Rand's head, and he's like, show me, with the whole while knowing that, yeah, I'm going to teach this idiot to show me how to channel, and I'm going to use it to destroy him. I think I was just totally blind to this, because I mean, they're setting this up earlier when Rand asks Moraine to teach him, and she gives that dumb answer. But also, like, she's just like, you know, just channel into this thing. Like, I can't teach you. You're just going to have to do what you can. She tells a story about the Aes Sedai beating her, and then she just channeled. So I think this is a great little trick that Rand pulls on the Dark One.
I had the same thing. I didn't notice it the first time I watched it, that he, like, you as a audience viewer and Moraine also viewing this from the outside may be worried about what his decision is, but he experiences no doubt about his decision. He knows as soon as he asked that question to trick the Dark One into his own defeat. And I love that. I think it's great. I think that, you know, Rand is someone who may need to be intelligent with what he's been tasked with, and not just rely on, you know, his farm boy wits and his stubbornness, but actually like be able to outthink people. And this is the first time I think that you're really seeing that. I thought it was done well. I guess, I don't know, do you also want to talk about the Moraine stuff that's happening simultaneously?
Yeah, I do have notes about that. Right, this is like, I mean, Brendan, you're probably not as interested in this, but right, what the Dark One does to her, right? So we distinctively see that shield kind of weave appear right over her, but then it's like different, right? Then it goes into her, which is what happens when we see Logain get shielded, but then you just see continuous flows going into her, right, from the Dark One. And then he does this like little weird thing with his hand, again, almost looking like the shield maybe weave again. And then like she's like, ugh, you know. So it's kind of like, I feel like it's somewhere in between the shielding and then when they gentle Logain.
I thought it was like when they gentle him, it's like the power is pulled out.
Yeah, yeah.
And this way, it's like the power was pushed inside her and then like locked up.
Yeah.
Like the power shielded inside her, as opposed to like when it's pulled out, like it's gone.
Yeah, I don't
When
think
it's
this
pushed
is
in,
like,
it's like, oh, she might be able, if she gets the shield off, she can let it out again. It's almost like the power's like trapped.
yeah, I feel like this is not a normal shield, that this is something a little bit more, like maybe not something we get in the books, maybe something a little bit, you know, worked up, particularly for the storyline.
Well, we never saw the moment that he was shielded, right? He was shielded before we got there. So maybe that is what
But we
shielding
see
looks
like Moraine and Alana put the shield on him when they're trading off shields. Remember when they're switching? They're
yeah, but he's
changing the
already
guard. No, remember
like
they
if the
put
power's already pushed in, like maybe that's like the first thing that happens when you shield someone, and then they're just like maintaining.
But when they shield Logain again after he's escapes, that doesn't happen.
They shield him again.
Yeah, after he escapes and they come in, they link to shield him, and then they, right? Don't they shield him first and then
they channel.
Right.
So I'll say this: I think that watching it this time, right after the show came out, there was a lot of debate about was she shielded, was she whatever the female equivalent of gentling is, and was removed from the source. Watching it now, I think it's explicit that she is not cut off from the power. She's cut off from access to the power. So she's definitely shielded. I would say this. There's a functionality in the books of shielding someone and tying the weave off, basically. So you're not actively working on it. They're just walking around shielded. I am conjecturing based on this that concept does not exist in the modern times. And that's what he did to her.
It doesn't though in the books. Don't they learn tying off from?
They do. I'm saying
right now.
This is the first instance of that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to actively shield her. He's done that. The second one
that was the last thing, him tying
that
it
he
off.
ties it off, and she's just out there right now.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I thought too. I thought the same thing, but it's weird. The visual doesn't like for me. It wouldn't be as I pictured tying it off, especially with the part where then you see it like going into her and just continuously going into her, the weave. Like if they would have done the shield animation on her and then just cut to him doing the hand thing, that I'd say, oh, it just looks like he put a shield on her and then he tied it off with his hand.
She was channeling, so it's almost like he took the weave that she was channeling and pushed it back into her.
Yes, that's what he does.
And then shielded her.
I don't think so because the weaves come from behind him and go around his arms and then go.
She goes to attack him with weaves of I assume,
they're like this.
Yeah,
and he
like
just
knives.
stops those. That's what he pushes back into her.
No, he shields her first, and then the pushing weaves into her happens after that.
Yes, he puts that first.
But that's the power that's going into her is her own power.
Her power.
I don't know.
I also feel like
it's like
in the
guys
when they get stilled. I mean, it's different, but I think when they get stilled, they can't feel the power at all anymore.
Yes,
no, they
and
can.
He specifically said when they're stilled. I thought they couldn't feel it.
They feel it, but they can't touch it. It's like off in the distance. It's when they burn out that they can't feel it at all anymore. When they're stilled, they can still sense it that it's there. They just cannot touch it.
Oh, okay, then forget it. I was gonna say.
And that's what I think is why I think that's why people don't survive long after they're stilled or gentled, is because they can feel it there in the distance, the power, but they can never touch it, and it's just like unbearable. Okay. Whereas if they burned out, like they they just totally, it's gone. They can't touch it. They can't feel it. It's not like Epic. Touch it and feel it.
So,
let's move on from this so we don't have to. So Brendan's not bored the entire episode.
I was like, that's all right. I can just finish my taxes.
Robin's got all these different pens at her desk that I've never seen before, so I'm just playing with some new pens.
Like a quill and ink?
No, it's just different pens than the ones I use. Oh, no, wait. This is one of mine. Never mind.
Welcome to our pen podcast, everybody.
Header on Riyadh.
Rand,
Fuck a Penriod, Jen. Come on. It's right
Dr.
there.
Penriod. All right.
Tucker
Come on.
Penriod. Rand says he's not going back to Faldara. He doesn't want to, he's afraid that he's going to put his friends in danger.
He specifically says, I'm not going back. And last week, I think it was Joe, had a big problem with why Min just couldn't tell him whether or not he was going to come back. And
Yeah.
the phrasing.
My problem was
The
that
phrasing.
my problem was she left it like he was going to die and didn't clarify for him. That's all I'm saying.
That's not what he asked. He didn't ask if he was going to die. He asked if he was going to go back.
He said, am I going to make it back? Didn't he say something like that? But so he didn't say, am I going to die? That's what he meant. And I don't know. I just thought it was
Not her
It's
problem.
not how it
She
works.
says explicitly in this episode too, that's not how it works.
But then
I
she
can't-
could have said,
I'm not-
I don't know. I can't tell.
she
That's
can't
all
answer
she has
every
to
question.
say.
She's not like a fortune teller.
But she could have
only
just
can
said,
see-
I don't know.
say
That's
what
all I
exactly
can
like a
see.
fortune teller.
No,
right.
she
She could have
can't.
said,
He can't. You can't ask her questions and she answers them. Like
Oh, okay.
she sees a specific vision around you, and
Gotcha.
she interprets that. But that's it. You can't just like
like
keep
what do you
throwing
see?
things at her.
Yeah, Maureen
Like,
says
am I going to make it
what do you
back?
see?
I don't know. Like, I
But
only
she doesn't
have
say, I don't
access to
know.
the vision. I
She
know.
doesn't answer him.
Well, I will argue again. She feel like there's a possibility she feels like she has already answered that question.
Yeah, it's still fucked up. But let's move on. I don't want to talk. Well, let's not get back into that. We're gonna get back into that whole argument. What we say? Oh yeah, Rand says he's not going back. He asks her to tell them that that he died, and she does she ever say yes, I will? She never does, right?
That I can't
She
lie.
nods. She nods at him, right? Is that what she
No,
does?
she says I can't lie, which is itself false. So
Right. And I'm glad that he immediately goes,
yeah,
please. Like, come on.
yeah.
He's
Come
like,
on.
you'll find a way. He's like, you'll figure out a way.
Sure you can.
Um,
And she finds a way like that when Land shows
Right.
up. Where's Rand? He's gone. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple.
But
Like,
why is she just okay with him like leaving?
I don't
what's
know.
how's she going to stop him? With her no magic against his
With
all the magic?
talking, with saying
With
anything?
words,
Since she was
Brendan.
looking at him for 20 years, and now he's just gonna go.
Also, she did it. He did it. Great.
She-
But she like literally 5
She knows
seconds
he
later,
didn't
she
do
knows
it.
she didn't
Well,
do it.
you don't know how much time it is.
I think she
That's
knows
true.
when it's over. Like, it's not.
Oh,
Then
no.
she-
I mean, she specifically says it's not over.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the
Right.
end.
But that's a little bit later. She's examining
She's like
the
letting the
Quendiar.
bird, letting the bird fly free.
I think there's
Like,
also
if
a little
you
bit
love
of
something,
I
let
think,
it go.
She's letting the Lord of Chaos
Find
rule.
its way back
Right.
to you.
I think any other conversation on here is full on like
Yeah,
book spoilers.
yeah. So Land shows up. He finally finds her. She mentions she can't unmask the bond, that she can't touch the source. So he clarifies that we know that the Dark One did something to her to prevent her from touching the source. And then, they look at the seal on the ground and mention the Quendiar, the Heartstone, can't be destroyed. And she's like, yes. And that's when she realizes she says something like, this isn't the last battle. I fear it's the first battle or something like that, which is a cool line. I almost wish they would have ended it there. But they didn't.
Well, that's the last line before the
Yes.
the cold
Epilogue.
ending. I don't know what the. Yeah, there we go.
Cold ending.
The
Thank you,
Hot end-
Jen.
The hot
Jesus.
ending.
the hot ending, the wet ending.
Oh, let's go
Wet
back.
ending.
Let's go
It's a
back to
wet
the other
ending.
parts.
With the wet ending. All right.
We
So
skipped so much of this episode.
no, because we
We
were just
don't
doing
wanna
we
talk
were
about-
just following the Rand and
I
Moraine
know.
storyline. We're going back. We're going back to Agelmar's big heroic charge into the fortress. I watched this
Just
again and I'm just
turning-
like, why did they
They're
put this
just,
scene
like,
in there?
It's just for dramatic effect.
I
I
know,
haven't- I
but it's
haven't
like it's like
Like to make the troops, rile up the troops.
but
I have
it's
a note about this.
go ahead,
about
Brendan.
this.
Just go.
It's a very insightful note.
Go ahead.
It reads, "Ugh, this charge."
That's how I felt when I watched it, Brendan.
That's
I think
it.
you summed it
That's
up.
all. That's all anyone.
Because
But what do you
it's,
want him to do?
it's
Just
set up like a big
trot
they
out
don't need
there?
to put the scene. They could have just showed them like
yeah, you don't
trotting.
even need to see them going.
It's like he gives like a very short, like not a speech, but he says a few words, and they're like, they charge, and then they just go into the fortress and get off the horses and go up into the fortress.
It's like this. It's like this minute-long scene of this of Agomar, who when he's not in his bird vest, I don't really have much use for him. Like, having this big dramatic scene to do nothing and effectively go nowhere. And meanwhile, Perrin, who I don't even like, but who is ostensibly a main character, is just not doing jack shit. He's just not, that's a minute to 90 seconds of screen time that guy could have been open about his wife or not using an axe.
But that's the worst scene in the entire first season.
Perrin and Loyal's conversation?
The Loyal, that scene.
That's the worst scene?
Is the absolute, like, the dialogue literally is stretched out. It could have been like,
but it's Loyal.
Hey, let's go see if we can help. And it's like Perrin doesn't come up with the idea of asking someone if he can do anything. He's just like pacing in a hallway. Like, why can't we fight? Why don't you ask if you could fight? You didn't even.
He doesn't
want to fight. He doesn't want to fight.
He's trying. He's trying to follow the way of the leaf, and he's frustrated by the fact that it doesn't work for him.
It's not going to work right now.
I'm frustrated, Tom.
What?
I'm frustrated. This is the worst scene in the show.
This is not the worst scene. This isn't even the worst scene in this.
Stop it.
Episode
20 minutes of the show. The worst scene in this 20 minutes of the show happens at the end of the Amalisa battle.
No, it's the worst written.
Oh no, the worst written scene is the tell.
Makes no sense.
No, it's the tell. It's the tell. It's the worst.
I disagree 100%. I don't like the scene at all, but I think this makes sense. The problem with this scene, to my mind, is the problem of episode 7, where Perrin has no fundamental. That's the problem with the scene. There's no fundamental interactions with Perrin prior for you to understand that Perrin's like, I'm trying to follow the way of the leaf. I don't want to fight anymore.
Well, he says it in the practice. In the beginning of episode 7, when they're eating in Faldara, they have the conversation about the way
but like, there's not enough insight into the fact that it's all subtext, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced violent trauma. I'm going to try and reject violence, not because I believe in that, but because I hope that it will make me feel better about my own past, right? And that's the conflict that he's dealing with right now. He wants to fight, and he's trying to ignore those feelings. The only thing that takes me out of this, I feel like bullshit is such a modern day curse.
Yeah.
Like, even though whatever, I'm sure it was around whenever people farmed, but like, I felt like I was like, really? I actually like the fact that I was like, you don't need to be frustrated. Like, if you want to do something, there's other things to do besides fighting. You can ask.
But it doesn't sound like, I didn't get the vibe that he didn't want to fight.
I think it comes up and doesn't it? I feel like it's specifically said in the dialogue.
Yeah.
In this scene?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, he expresses anger about like how can we, like, he's like, the way of the leaf is bullshit. I can't understand how you could just not fight and let other people fight. Like, it doesn't. Sorry.
I think part of the issue I have with the scene, both the first time we watched it and this time, the idea of exploring pacifism as a philosophy or embracing it as a philosophy in the context of a war for the existence of the universe with a supernatural enemy is a very interesting one. And I think it might actually be too complicated and it's too big an idea for a subplot with a supporting character.
Well,
so like everything Perrin is doing, it's like, this is like, okay, this is interesting, but we're never going to have, like, there's never going to be enough time to explore it. And he has not been enough of a focus yet to make it work.
I don't know. I could spoil something pretty large right now if you want, but
Don't,
I think
please.
We got rules.
yeah, I would say this. I think that you are right in what you're saying. And I think that's the flaw of this scene is that there wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough time to develop this as a conflict that needs to be part of the climax of season 1, right?
Right.
But what I don't like is like, hey, how can we help? All right, you guys dig this up. We'll stand here and watch. Just what happens next.
No, they don't give them. Do they give them their picks, or they just give them other picks?
And then those two dig it up and just stand there.
Like,
and then
why did you need 8 guys to dig that up?
It's
on
Two
solid
rock,
stone.
concrete, metal.
No, but they weren't all digging.
No, they take breaks
Two
and
to
they pass it
stand
off.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then,
Those
they're-
are like the top 8
Yeah,
guys.
Those
Why
guys
are they
unions,
there?
Jen. One of them has to be watching.
Those
One of them
are
has to-
meant to be.
There's OSHA in Faldara. Two of
Yeah,
those guys are just there
it's
to
a
make sure that
union
everyone's
job.
safe.
the
It's
two
a
main
union job.
guys originally were like the 2 top guys.
Yeah, that's
And then
why
they Dagomar.
he gives them this important task, though. This is a
Uno
very
is
important
like a
task.
sergeant. Uno's not an officer. He's like a sergeant.
I don't know.
He's like Yokoda's like top enlisted man. He's just
Like
somebody
Chief
that's in the
O'Brien.
books, but he's not like
Just-
he's not a lord.
Those
Yeah.
guys should have been fighting. That's all I.
I
can
think
say.
I think this task was more important. He wanted.
Yes.
And
This was a more important task.
But
That
now they take it
immediately
out.
failed.
And now what? What's the
They're
next part of the
supposed to
plan?
get
Like,
Well, I have a problem
We
with
don't
this.
even know
Take it
who
out.
the dragon is.
I know I have a problem with this
Yes.
series. Like, but I think the
Like
idea
he
is
knows
you
the
gotta
last
get.
battle's coming.
I think the
guess he's
idea
supposed
is-
to get it out of Faldara.
Yes, you need to get.
Yes.
Yes, it's dig it up and get it out of here
Get it
because
out.
they're going to overrun
He needs
Faldara,
it,
and then
right.
it's going to be lost and in the hands of the bad guys. That's
Right.
what. That's what.
Instead, what
put
they
it
And that's
down.
why he's sending
Dig
the
it
two
up,
of them.
Investigate a
put
strange
it down
noise.
and get killed.
Yes, that was a dumb move. But I think that's the whole point of this.
Yes.
Is that's why he sends his best men because this is a task that's really, really important, and he needs
And
people to
he
get
doesn't
involved.
need his best man in the battle where all of his men will die, right? He needs his guy to get this powerful magical item someplace to safety,
Yes,
wherever that may be.
Yeah.
The irony is, if he just sent his middleist men, then maybe they wouldn't even dug it up, and the bad guys wouldn't have gotten it.
Well, the bad guys
Moral of the
seem to
story,
know
don't send your best
exactly
man.
where to look for it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think even if the bad guys didn't know it was there, the problem still lies in that it's located in a city that's now overrun with evil shadow spawn. So getting
Right.
it back
Yeah.
is a problem, whether they shadow spawn know it's there or not.
Overrun by
But they
60
didn't take
fades
it?
and 5 to 10,000
He didn't
trawlers.
take it with him,
Who?
Pat and Fane.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He walks
did,
out with the
alright,
case
okay.
at the
He
end.
took
His
the
speech at the
okay.
end. He has the case under his arms.
I just missed the last like 10 seconds of what you guys said. You think that he knew it was there before they undug?
Oh,
before they dug
Fane.
it up?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
I think that's the
Oh, yeah.
presumption.
Fane seems to know, and they make direct reference to this. There are dark friends there.
Right.
Fane
Oh,
seems to
so-
know
so- okay.
everything about that city and what's going on.
I feel like not everyone in the city should have known that it was under there. It's probably
No, I don't think they do.
I don't think they do.
Leave
I
it
think
at that. Let's
that
leave it
I
at
think
that.
we're gonna. Yeah, sorry. So we don't spoil anything.
I will say this. I'm going to throw this out there. Agomar's point of view, not that different from Dana's.
What?
Which is a possibility. Just saying.
Agomar?
Agomar is also somebody who thinks that this war is useless and that they're all going to die.
Well, I might have to backtrack on my Agomar's definitely dead viewpoint after watching this again.
Really? You
the
think there's a
giant-
possibility?
That's funny. I switched
giant
back to
crossbow
thinking
bolt
he's
through his
dead.
heart.
I'm
mean-
back on the he's dead.
I
bandwagon.
think he's probably dead because, like, the whole point was like the armor, and then the thing went through, it, and then he looked down, like, oh, and the thought went through his head, like, oh, if I was wearing my father's armor, that wouldn't have happened. But he didn't. I don't know.
You didn't see
He
him
was
dead.
still very much alert when they cut away from him.
Yes,
The Trollocs have come through the wall
I
that he was in.
understand. I'm
but they went
and-
through.
I'm like 80-20 that I'm like 80, he's dead, 20. I was 100, he was dead. Now I'm like 80-20. He's dead.
No.
That's all I'm
And
gonna say.
to be
We didn't
honest-
see him die.
to be
didn't
honest,
see him die.
those shadow spawn took over that fortress very quickly.
I do think they just went through it. Like they went through the horse.
But but I'm saying they overcame it very, very quickly. It was like minutes.
It was
They
not.
climbed up each other, right, to get to the top.
Yeah, it was basically like it looks like it was not designed for that number of creatures.
Clearly.
I have if Loyal's not dead,
Yes.
then Agomar doesn't have to be dead, because Loyal was given that like extra death stab.
And he's getting the death
like
stab.
I twisted, so you're definitely dead, and we know he's not dead. So
Yeah.
like that means Agomar. can
Uno
still
was clearly alive too. He was just kind of like, you could see his eyes
live.
open.
But that
he's
extra
breathing
little
moaning.
twist is like the death. Like any other show, like I would, or if we didn't know, I'd be, oh, that guy's definitely dead.
He
Like
has a
there's no-
tree trunk through his chest into a wall.
No,
Like,
it wasn't that big. It was like a little spear. It didn't go through. It
It's
just
a
hit him
little-
and stopped.
a little
He wasn't
spear.
impaled. I don't think he was impaled. You think he
I
was
think he's
fully
impaled.
impaled? I don't think. I thought it just.
I don't think he's
pierced the
pinned to the
armor.
wall
He could
behind
be
him.
alive and he could get healed. I mean, that's possible. He could not be totally dead.
I don't think he's. I don't know. I don't know. Stop rubbing your head, Brendan.
that's just what I do.
All right.
It's hot,
So
Jen. Leave me alone.
You're rubbing your head in disbelief.
Why don't you do this again?
yeah. So
These
Oh,
people.
sit.
Oh my god.
right. We
So
said
I said-
Fane and the
Now I'm
Fades show up and
Fane
kill
and Fade.
or at least destroy most of the people.
Decapitate 2 women.
Decapitate 2
immediately.
women, kill Lord Yokota, stab a bunch of other people. We see that Fane has the dagger and he stabs Loyal with the dagger, which is another whatever.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Not the book.
He's a Ogier. Maybe if they Ogier just have some sort of resistance to it, I'm
Sure.
fine with
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. That works.
The evil man.
So it comes
that
up
city.
again. I forgot about this. The word Taviran comes up again.
Yep.
Tells Perrin that there are 5 Tavirans. Now it's confirmed. 5
And
of them are
he
Taviran.
explains what Taviran
He
are.
doesn't explain. He just says focal points of the wheel.
Okay.
That's all he
you need
says.
to
That
know.
the pattern, like, he says the pattern, like, twists to wrap themselves around or something to that point.
Well, he just mentions that
It's
it's
like a
very
two-
rare. He says like they
To have usually
to
one
have-
or two a generation.
yeah. To
Right.
have 5 all at once is whatever. Phenomenal.
So
Singular.
there is the payoff.
Yeah. So we
It's
finally
the-
get the Taviran part again. And I guess it's confirmed that all 5 of them are Taviran, so that's a change from the
It's
books.
nice that he gave Perrin all that information before.
It
he
is
left.
nice before he left. Before he left him alive, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
After
he's
killing
supposed
just
to,
about
right?
everyone in there.
Yeah, he
Said they
explicitly
weren't
says
gonna kill them.
Why doesn't he
That-
try to take him though? Why don't they capture him? He was supposed to he says my mission was to bring you to him, so I'm just gonna leave you now by yourself.
that's a great question, Joe. I wonder if they'll explore that question in season 2.
I hope so. Maybe the Horn of Valir is more important than Perrin. I don't know. Right? He literally just said, "I was sent to the True Rivers not to kill you, but to bring you to him." And then leaves him.
I think it was his job. I think his job was like a scout, because he left. He wasn't. He didn't try to capture anybody.
No,
It was
but
the
it was his.
Trollocs.
It was his responsibility, is I guess what I'm saying.
Well, maybe the plan
He
changed now.
seems to be the boss of Murdrol and Trollocs here.
Yes, I noticed that.
Um,
Like they were following him, right? And that's like,
Yeah.
ooh, these creepy, twisted Murgel characters seem like to be high up on the food chain, and then this guy's leading them. Pretty
There
cool
are
stuff.
also other ways of while I've always throughout our discussion of the show praised Robert Jordan's literalness, there are other ways of bringing someone to the Dark One than like tying him up and throwing him in the back of a wagon and taking him to the eye of the world.
Yeah,
Right.
You
I
know?
agree. Also, there could be other things going on, which I'm not going to say. As Tom mentioned, if they'll explore them in the next season.
Yeah, I would say they probably explore. I would think that, like I think they make references to what Brendan's referring to, kind of like when they show Matt, like,
Oh, and
hey,
with the whole
you
scene
could
with
just
Ren.
be out in the world and be tempted to turn to the dark, right?
Yeah,
And maybe that's better,
I have
like, than us. I don't know, whipping you until you become bad.
I have a
Or
question about
whatever
the
they do.
Matt scene. Why is Tarvalon like empty, deserted?
Nighttime.
That's it. There's nobody out in the streets in a big city at nighttime.
There's no electricity, Joe.
It's dark. It's
This
nighttime.
seems like
They go to
Manhattan,
bed.
I'm
dude.
pretty sure this is a city that keeps the streets well lit at night. It's a very wealthy city,
They had to make everything look dark. That's why.
so you couldn't see his face. It didn't even look very dark. It looked like it was like dusk, or I thought maybe it was dawn or getting close to dawn or something like that, because it looked like there was some light. But yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh my God, the city's literally deserted. Like they don't even have one person in the scene besides him. And he just walks
thought
through
it
a
was
gate. Is that the gate to
nighttime.
the city? Is there nobody guarding the gate at nighttime?
Oh,
Okay.
That did not bother me.
Let that
No.
scene go. It
I'll
bothered
let
you?
it go.
It didn't. It didn't
Oh yeah,
bother
no,
me at all.
that one I let go.
Okay.
That was
I didn't think about it
shoehorn.
last time. I just noticed this time that it was just deserted.
Remember this guy?
All right. Do we want to talk about the worst part of the episode and maybe the worst part of the show?
No, it's stupid.
Oh,
Should we just skip over it?
shield. Listen, it's what the healing is the worst part, or the
No,
burning
no, the
out?
whole-
No, the worst part
The
is
whole
I don't mind what they intended to do at all, and I still think that Amelisa has a complete story arc in 2 episodes, and I love the resolution to her character and all the rest of that stuff. I think it's all great. I think what they wanted to do was terrific. They went too heavy on the Nynaeve burnout makeup
Yes.
and did not establish that she had not died yet.
I was
Right.
still talking about all this stuff before that with the linking
No,
and
I don't mind any of that. I don't mind.
okay,
Showing
I
the
don't mind.
dangers of linking when you're not
okay. Let's
ready for it
I wanna
or
call
strong
back.
enough.
I want to call back to episode 4, right? How many Aes Sedai were there fighting
Mm-hmm.
against Logain's army?
8.
Not all 8 were, right? One was died, one was in the cave, or
Okay,
so there's
Moraine.
like 6 or whatever.
7.
Let's say 6.
5.
5 Aes Sedai, fully trained Aes Sedai, fighting an army that was, we all agreed, was maybe 100 to 200 people,
Mhm.
are having trouble. Fully trained Aes Sedai having trouble holding off 100, maybe 150, 200 people, and 4 or 5 untrained channelers, one who couldn't even channel enough to make it out of the White Tower and
Right.
destroy thousands and thousands of Trollocs.
I have a raised hand.
Go ahead, Jen.
So she's using Nynaeve's power,
No, I know that. I know
which
that.
is too much for her. So she knows how to do it. So she's trained. She just doesn't have the strength.
But, okay, well,
So she's taking all this power that she never felt before and using way too much. And that's why you can't do that,
I mean,
because you die.
if
you
you're
kill
weak,
everyone else.
if you're weak, you shouldn't even be able to know how. Like, you wouldn't be able to even try those. Like, so she wouldn't know those weaves, right? Like, she wouldn't even know how to do lightning because she was too weak
Why
to
do you
even
think
try to do it.
that?
Because
Why?
because that's how the power works. If you're very weak in it, like, you couldn't even come close to
No, you
trying
can
to
try. You
form
can't make
a
the weave.
Try
complicated.
it.
You could try it. It just won't
She
work.
was but like,
But
I
like,
think
it
the
wouldn't.
idea
Nothing
is
would
that
happen. It's like, I'm going to
she's the
try
only one-
forming this weave. Like, you
she's
wouldn't
the
do it,
only
so you wouldn't know
one
how
that
to do it.
No,
went-
I disagree, and that's not how the power works. You could learn how to do it. It won't work if you're not strong enough to make the weave, but you could still.
You can
throw out
watch
the
somebody do
threads.
it. Yeah, you can watch somebody
Right.
do it.
And you can try, and it won't work if you're not powerful enough, right?
But
To,
she's pulling
lock it into
Egwene
place.
and Nynaeve's power
So-
through her. It's way too much, and she could do it, but look what happened. Then she
So
killed
so
her.
we're saying that Egwene and Nynaeve are 50 times more powerful than the sisters or so.
Well, they're Taviran. So
I also think
I mean, no,
so there's a few
I know you're being
things, right?
stupid, but you're right.
I've
Oh,
watched
I
this.
thought you were being sarcastic. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah, I
you're
was,
actually-
but-
I mean,
So I've watched this episode, I think, 4 times. And admittedly, my television in my living room is not made, like, it's not in the right place in the living room. There's too much sun in my living room. I can't see how many Trollocs are in this scene.
They say
Right.
in
I
the
can't either.
beginning,
It's fully black.
they say
Yes, they say in the beginning there's that many.
1
I
to
don't know how many have
5,000
been.
or something like that.
I don't know how many have been killed by the entire army.
It doesn't look like they killed anybody, to be honest with you. Maybe
No,
maybe
they
a few,
wiped
maybe
out a
few
bunch in the
hundred.
first
Maybe a few
rounds of
hundred.
crossbow attacks. But I don't know how many, right? I'm not saying I don't know. Let's say there's still 5,000, right? Whatever.
I'll be
We
be generous and say there's only 1,000 left. Still.
Fine.
just for the
We-
record,
we
for the
talked-
record,
we talked about
before it
this-
Starts,
What?
they say before it starts, they specifically say up to at least 60 fades and 5 to 10,000 Trollocs.
5 to
Right.
10. Okay, sorry.
They
5
get
to
that
10.
specific. With the
Yeah.
number.
Thank
Right.
you, Brendan.
So I don't know how many have made it this far
More
after
than half. Let's say
the
more than half.
army of Faldara has fought to the last man, they're all dead.
Yeah.
Whatever's made it through, they're here, right? This is what I will say. We talked about this. I agree. They've overpowered the potential for what Nynaeve and Egwene can do. Agree. But within the mechanics of things, one, she does not link the right way.
Yes.
They show you how to link. They explain what linking is earlier in the season. She doesn't do any of those things. She's doing it in an unsafe way, and she's doing it at the expense of their lives. Nothing that a channeler can't like will not go that far, right? She like burns out everybody, willing to burn out everybody, and has no control over her own impulses. So I think there's a way where you can kind of say like, hey, like they can say, I'm never doing that again because we almost died, whatever the case may be. I don't mind it too much. I think it's I don't know. I think
I
it's
do.
a
It
little
really
bit
bothers me.
ridiculously.
It really bothers me that they're so powerful that they just wipe out thousands of Trollocs. Like it's like, okay. So now every time we run into homage Trollocs, they're just going to wipe out hundreds of thousands.
No, they
of
can't do that. That's what
Why
the
not?
point. They did it by the expense of like 5 lives. Like they all just
3 lives.
No Aes Sedai is going to do that.
Right.
So
the girls are going to why? So their logic.
No, the right way though. So
Right.
that, but not like no other Aes Sedai that's living now before them would do
It's an
what we saw
irresponsible use of the power.
because of what happened. So I don't think it's an overpowering because no one is going to do that. Like, you know,
that's
like,
not
it's
how
not
you
a
actually
thing
link.
that
right?
anybody.
I'm not
could do.
talking about linking. I'm just talking about the raw power of them.
I
It
think
sounds like you're saying they're the way they linked them made them even more powerful.
Yes. That's how you write it.
She just took everybody's power instead of like
She linked it in
all
a way
their
that
powers
was
combining. She like I don't know how to say it
right.
exactly.
Remember,
I don't
when
like
you
it.
actually
I don't
link,
like
all
it.
of their power into herself
I don't
and
like
was
it.
like, yeah.
Nope.
I mean, it's
I don't like it.
it's
I
the
don't think any of
second.
us like
It's
it.
their second
right.
choice. That's not what they were going
And
to
then
do.
like, oh my God, then the whole
So-
dramatic, I can feel the whole world, every breath and every gust. I literally
like
wrote
that.
down, I
I
literally
love
wrote
that.
down, no, you can't. No, you
do you
can't.
Well,
Why not?
Oh, she
She can't feel the whole world, every gust.
She's not. I don't think she's being
she
literal.
can either,
No,
Joe.
I think she's being literal.
I
I
don't
think
think
she
she's being-
feels. They say like how good the power
Sorry,
feels,
right.
so she's got the most power she could ever have, and then she fucking dies.
I don't know.
Joe, you
That's
you,
why
think it's
she
a-
keeps sucking it in because that's how good it feels.
I think it's I
You
think
finally
it's
have that amount of
a dumb
power. and then
line.
it's-
I think it's a dumb line.
just because somebody says something, Joe, doesn't make it objectively factually true.
But why would you say that
You
though?
seem to get really
That's
you
what she
get really
feels
hung
like.
up on this. You get really hung up on this stuff, like with Moraine saying, "If I take like whoever's not the dragon, will
She
die."
says it so many times, Brendan. It comes up like, okay, I can
that's
forgive
what
this.
she believes. That's what Amelisa thinks she's feeling.
But
Just because
my
she's
problem
saying
is
it doesn't
comes-
mean it's correct.
My problem with the Moraine point is that it comes from nowhere. There's no background. She doesn't put it in any context saying like there's a prophecy or whatever. It's just like, I'm saying it. That's it.
And she's also wrong. Like the show,
I know she's wrong.
but the show clearly tells you that. And to Brendan's point, like it explains, like explicitly says, like just because people say things does not make those things true. She's wrong.
I know she's
Amaran's
wrong.
wrong. Every Aes Sedai who says anything is wrong, except for maybe a lot of it because she just asks for food. No, but like, and Amelisa, I don't think anyone could watch that scene and go, she is someone who's in complete control of her faculties right now.
No, I agree. I just don't like the line. I think it's a stupid line. That's all.
I have to say again, I disagree. The problems I have with this scene are the problems that you have in regards to the overpowering of people. I think it is a problem.
Well, what about
I think you can explain it away, but it's a problem.
What about how
And-
Nynaeve somehow sucks the one power draw from Egwene?
Also, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
And
I don't get it. I don't like it.
and
Like,
again,
she can't pull the power out of her.
Yeah, she can't
she
like
doesn't suck the power out of her. She like
blocked.
buffers her from the
She like
linking.
blocks the link. I
That
guess.
didn't bother me. I honestly, if I didn't read these
It's
books,
just dumb.
I kind of like Nynaeve dying here. I think it was really dramatic and nice, and it showed she was willing to give her life for these kids, and she's setting Egwene on her path as like Egwene's guide and like, you know, like mother figure. And even though she has a mother, you know what I mean? Like she says the thing at the beginning, "We always will be with you." It's like an Obi-Wan moment.
Yeah, she's passing the
Except
torch.
you
to
know,
her.
she's not gonna die. But
I agree with you.
I mean,
there.
I was kind of like, oh, I kind of wish she died.
And we should have just killed Nynaeve.
Even though I love her, but I'm just like, this was a nice moment for her to actually die.
Hashtag Nynaeve
well.
should just die.
Nynaeve should have died.
Miss Nynaeve should have died.
That's the quote, Joe, for this week's episode. Nynaeve should die. That's it.
I kind of like Nynaeve dying here. That's episode 187 or whatever.
This whole sequence, I just did not. And then Jen, of course,
So hot
you know,
here.
with the part you hate the most, that, and I think a lot of people where it just looks like Nynaeve's dead.
I mean, I looked at it again because I know they said that they like changed they tried to make the makeup. I could see that her eyes were like 1/8 less black than like the other people's, but it was real. I mean, it's almost impossible to tell.
Yeah.
It's especially
Unless you're
misleading.
staring at it, like
It's especially misleading and confusing because, first of all, as Jen just said, if you don't have the context of the books, this is the right time for Nynaeve to go.
Mm-hmm.
And second, Nynaeve thinks it's time for Nynaeve to go. Like
Right.
Nynaeve says all that stuff to Egwene because she thinks she's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Nynaeve should say that in every season. Like she,
That
that was really
she keeps
good.
giving her the
Every
goodbye
time she
speech.
thinks she's
But like, and it's like it set up the whole like Lan gives her his goodbye to her.
right.
Like she'll have a future with
Yeah.
a man, and then he's okay because he doesn't fight anybody, and she's the one who dies. It really,
Yeah.
but yeah, it
He's okay 'cause he
really, I
doesn't
think
do jack
narratively
shit.
works.
I agree. Let's rewrite the story and just kill Nynaeve here.
We don't need her for the rest of
We
it.
don't
It's
need her.
fine.
She doesn't do anything important.
Not
anyway.
important. She's Taviran now. We really
She's,
do need her.
She's a tertiary character.
Plot
most.
twist. Turns out the fifth Taviran was Layla.
Fifth
Oops.
Taviran
Also not
Friends
alive.
we made along the way.
All right, and then we got the end scene, the Shanshan ships, you know, destroying the little girl.
Oh wait.
demolishing the
I'm
little
sorry.
girl.
Can we go back one? I had another
Go ahead.
note. I forgot.
Go ahead, one more note.
How come we don't see Weaves when Egwene's healing Nynaeve?
We
Oh,
do. We
God.
see a little.
Do-
We see a
You
little.
do?
Yeah, you do. When she's saying like,
See it.
"Come back, Nynaeve," and she's hugging her, you see like a little weave creep
petal
out.
falls from the rose.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see a little a weave come out of Egwene.
When she looks to the camera and tells everyone to clap.
Yeah. She-
Clap if you believe in wisdoms. No, I didn't see it. Okay, I missed
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
then.
it's
she
there.
does,
And I'm staring at the screen like this, so obviously,
You were probably staring at Nynaeve, just looking at the
I'm
makeup.
probably looking at the makeup. You're right.
I did go
How
back and
black.
watch the scene like 3 times to see, like, hey,
So
did they show that she's still breathing? But
Oh
literally,
yeah, I did the same
as
thing.
soon as you see her face, the healing starts.
Yeah,
There's
and,
no opportunity.
and they also show one of the other. That scene starts with them like panning over one of the other women who burned out and died. And I'm
that
trying
person
to.
doesn't have eyes.
Yes, I'm trying to
Right.
compare. I'm like, okay, let's go back and see what
Right,
this
right.
person
Their
looks
eyes are like fully
go up to
gone.
Nynaeve looks like, and I'm like, it's hard. She looks the same to me, almost.
But
the
she
same.
has eyes. She does have eyes.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
don't.
I guess that's the difference. The eyes. It's all in the eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. All right, let's get to our
Eyes.
ratings.
Sorry, go back to the end. No, you didn't do the end.
No, we got to do the.
Do we have to
Coolidge
talk more about the Shanshan showing up? And
I just want to say one point.
Coolin was on the way. It would be really great.
You missed him. He was there.
got his helmet,
What's
his
the
lance,
purpose of the
his
tidal
trunks.
wave? That's what I want to know.
Rafe mentions
Okay.
in
Looks
one of those.
awesome.
Rafe mentions in the Q&A, like somebody asked the question, like, "What did that poor girl do to the Shanshan or whatever?" And he said something like, "Oh, it doesn't. It's not the girl. It's the coastal cities."
Right, but why do they want to destroy the cities?
I
Because
don't
they're
know.
announcing their presence with authority.
Yes.
But- Well, Book Shanshan wouldn't do that. That's all I'm
Well, we'll find out in season 2.
Sorry.
And Bookstore should do a lot of bad things before
Yeah,
they
but-
get there too.
Nah, right.
Okay. Let's get to
Whatever.
our ratings. I'm done talking about this episode.
I don't know what anyone's gonna rate this one. I'm curious.
Oh shit.
I have to see
Well, I
what-
mean, we were talking about it, Jen. We were talking about it before you got on, and Well, you know what? Never mind. Forget I said anything.
All right.
Oh,
Ratings.
I think I have something in my head, but I don't.
Did
Yeah, I
I
got
dislike
it. I
this
got it,
more than episode
don't-
5?
I don't look at my other ratings.
Well, I
just
have to keep everything.
purely-
I can't rate
No.
this high. If I think it's worse than another episode, I have to rate it lower than the other episode. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
All right, I'm gonna go first.
Go ahead.
2.75.
Oh shit, that's I think where I was leaning,
I'm not sure if that was my worst rating or not.
but I don't think so. I'm going to go 2.5. I'm going to go below that.
Okay.
So this is on par with episode 5. Different reasons though, right? This I had a lot of mechanical lore reasons issues in this, and then a couple of stupid lines and scenes. So I'm going to give it a 2.5.
I am also going to give it a 2.75. There are things in here that I really don't like, but there's a lot of things in here I really do like. And I think overall, watching this episode again, like those things slightly outweighed the stuff I didn't like. The thing I will say this, because it's the 8th episode and the season's over now. The things that I did like in this episode, the way they wrote the final confrontation between Rand and Balsamon, some of the dialogue scenes, the way they were able to, in some cases, give a good narrative arc and close things out, were problems that I had throughout the season that I thought they did well in the last episode and give me hope for the future. So that's why it's getting a little bit above the middle for me.
All right, Brendan.
Yeah, I'm also going to go 2.5. It has my favorite individual scene in the whole show, the cold open, and all the Rand and Moraine stuff is really good. The rest of it's just kind of not.
Yeah.
The bit at the end is cool too. With I guess those people are called the Shanchan. But
so what's our total ratings here now? Now that we've closed it out, let's review.
Okay, total Jen's average over the course of the season 3.41.
Okay.
Tom's at 3.34. I'm at 3.16 because I said so. And Joe is
Bottom line.
Joe's the same as Jen at 3.41.
All right.
I think that's pretty accurate.
So that's that would be like 7 out of 10 stars, which I would give it if we were doing the star rating. What was the highest rated episode, Brendan, overall?
The highest rated episode by almost a full point. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the highest rated episode is episode 3.
All right, and the lowest
Obviously.
rated episode?
Episode 6.
That's because Brendan gave it a 1.
Oh, that's right.
I also give it an anchor score.
All right. So there you have it, people. Our ratings and reviews, or our second ratings and reviews from season 1 of The Wheel of Time. Best episode, episode 3. Worst episode, episode 5. Oh, I'm sorry, episode 6.
Episode 6.
Sorry,
It probably goes without saying that it's every episode and the overall score is lower than when we first watched.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the novelty of this show being made wore off for us. And we kind
For the
of
last 2 years.
And also I think we were rating
I
the
can't believe it.
show against itself when we first did this. And this time we explicitly said in the beginning, at least this is the way I'm taking it, I'm rating this show against television. Right? Like this is how I'm interpreting this
when I did it.
Like I'm saying, like for an episode of television, any episode of television that I'm going to watch, how would I rate this episode? As opposed to when we first watched it, I'm like, for an episode of Wheel of Time, how good was it? Right? Like how much did I enjoy watching Wheel of Time?
Okay.
It's different for me. It's a different thing. I was much more, I don't know. I was looking at it in a more universal sense, I think here, and that's why I think I rated it in a harsher way.
Brendan, what is the overall rating total? Like all episodes, every person included, the average.
He told us that.
Did he have the?
No,
I thought he told us our individual averages. I don't think he said the overall.
The total, like all of our scores.
Yes.
3.33.
3.33.
Possibly repeating. I don't know.
Wow.
All right.
All right. Hopefully we can get a better, more.
When we
Out of
watch this
season 2.
again a year from now, when season 2 hasn't been out, we'll see what we can come up with then.
No, I don't think
think-
we're gonna. I don't think we can do a third
we
watch.
didn't really get a chance to talk about this in this episode, but I think this is of the back half of the show, or the back couple of episodes. This is the one that most shows the problems they had.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
like
Definitely. Yes. COVID and
the
the lack of
fight
map.
scenes are very lacking. Land doesn't do anything. And like I said last week, Matt is conspicuous by his absence. It's so,
But he's there.
which I think is a.
Didn't you see him?
Do they have to like pay him for that?
No, I don't think that's. I don't think that's him.
That's
Yes,
him.
it is.
It's
It's some
a
footage
shot
they
from a
had.
different.
Yes.
It's a shot from a different set.
Yes, that's what
Or
I mean.
the
It's
same
not
set,
like
dressed different.
they didn't get him back to shoot that scene. That's just from
No.
footage they had.
But they don't have to pay him for him appearing in that episode.
I don't think
No,
so.
they're
Credited?
He's in
He
the
was
credits.
contracted
They're
for all 8 episodes. What do you mean? He was.
I guess they paid him for the whole thing.
Yeah, he might have got paid for all the episodes.
He's in the credits. He got paid for the episode.
Yeah.
I we've talked about it. I think we've talked about it in the show. We've definitely talked about it a lot outside the show. What the intention was for, like, if Matt was still on the show, like what the last thing would, like what differences would have happened, right? And I think they're conspicuous by the fact that, like, it really doesn't make sense in season 1 for Perrin and Patton Fane to have a standoff about, like, with the dagger.
Although it could be
It could work
for
things that
future
maybe happen later,
storylines.
but it doesn't make sense. It's clearly like, well, probably somebody else would be talking to him about, like, the temptation to turn to the dark, you know.
Him calling
But
him
yeah, I think
a right bastard again.
Yeah.
Bookends.
I'm gonna let's wrap it up here. Jen, I think we have a new patron to thank.
We do, but why he's not showing up under the new patrons on my app? But we had him. He was there last week, and I didn't see him because he wasn't popping up. So I never remember the levels.
Illuminators.
Joining the Illuminators, we have Lumen. Lumen, sorry I missed you last week. My app still hasn't caught up. But
I think
thank
he
you so much.
I think he signed up like while we're recording or just before we started.
Yeah,
he did. But that's
Yeah.
I was looking and it wasn't there. And then when I went to my notifications, I saw it.
Okay.
And then I
didn't notice
wondered
it
if
till
you
after.
just joined and left, and that's why it wasn't there
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, we know that.
But
happens.
no
Not
matter
us.
what, thank you, Lumen. We appreciate your support.
Yeah, we'll see you
Yeah.
at JordanCon too.
Yes, we will.
I want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Join us over in Discord to continue the conversation there. Check out our YouTube page, like and subscribe. We post the episodes there as well. If you'd like to see us as well as hear us, rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out our merchandise and the aforementioned Patreon page. Links to all the aforementioned information is included in the show notes to this episode. Final words before we go and we wrap this up.
We very much appreciate our win, or thanks for getting us to the finals.
See you in Hot Atlanta next week.
1 week.
We
Yeah.
may be doing a live recording.
Yeah, we'll be at JordanCon next week, so
Yeah.
we'll probably
Am I
post
kidding?
an
Brendan, you're
episode
gonna be
from
there.
JordanCon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so Brendan
Right.
will be on another
Just
episode.
like saying you're gone. I think he'll be on next week's episode.
That's right. I forgot. All right. Apologies there.
It's part of his
Surprise.
contract.
Surprise.
That's right.
Any con episodes he's in.
That's true. Well, any cons that he's there for.
Any cons that any con episodes that he's around for.
I'm contracted for 1 con episode
A year.
per calendar year.
It's
So,
true. You're very expensive. The rate's high.
This is true.
I'm in demand.
You're high class.
That's it. So we definitely want to. The goal, for those of you who are not watching us on YouTube, the goal is to get a picture with Brendan and Michael Livingston unmasked.
Brendan, you
Okay.
should try to get a shirt in the next week that just says "Not Michael Livingston" on it.
You should just go up to people and ask them if they want you to sign their book.
You should
And
ask
see
them
if
you can sit in
anybody-
the chair and see if anybody notices.
See
you
if
sign
anybody
the books.
see if anybody lets you sign their book thinking you're Michael Livingston.
For anyone not picking up on this, my 3 friends are suggesting that I antagonize a guy who was perfectly nice to me a year ago.
No, he'll be in on it. It'll
Michael
be funny.
Livingston
He'll
is a
love
friend of the
it.
show. He has appeared on
Love
our show
it.
before. We are very much looking forward to meeting him in person again. And you guys look
I know we do.
somewhat
I'm
alike.
aware.
And you have the same haircut and
You know,
same
it's one
facial hair.
report.
I'm ending the show.
The hairs have been cut. I don't know what else we would call it.
You have the same eyebrows?
Thanks everyone for listening, and you'll hear us next time.